Welcome to the Living Second Nature podcast. My name is Shodi Morris. Glad to have you joining in today. It's just this funny thing when we go to introduce a guest. I feel like all podcasts are like, oh, I'm so excited to have this guest on today. But I just feel so blessed that I know so many amazing people that I am truly and genuinely excited to have join me today. So our guest today is actually a born and raised lady from Grant County, Wisconsin. She is also a health and wellness coach. She is the host of Tami Talks, Unscripted Healing podcast, a soon-to-be gym owner. She is also a registered dietitian. She has a master's in nutrition with a bachelor's in exercise and sports science. Our guest is a level 2 certified energy healer. And my favorite thing about her is her passion that goes to the ends of the earth to help people reconnect with their inner child, helping them live their life to the fullest potential. So let's welcome Tami Schiltz, aka Little Tam Tam.
Little Tam Tam. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yes.
Happy on Stomping Grounds.
Yes.
It's crazy how much things have changed. Driving by here, I'm like, whoa, this place has exploded since I was here.
Yeah, my sister moved many years ago, 15-ish years ago, down to southern Missouri. And when she comes back as well, she's like, oh my gosh, like this and this. And
Yeah.
when you're here every day, you just don't really notice. But when you step away for a bit, it is.
Well, and that's funny because we were talking a little bit beforehand about looking back at memories from a year ago or 2 years ago and how many things that I'm currently doing weren't even on my radar and how things change so quickly when we actually look back. So like life is not stagnant. It's happening.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And not even on our radar.
No.
That was such a good conversation because I've had so many transitions that have been like, this wasn't even a thought in my mind, but here we are.
Here we are.
Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah. Trust, surrender, all the things.
Oh, so today, like when I originally saw you in a vision with being a guest on the podcast, I got really geeky thinking about connecting with inner child, talking about self-love, and having it be in the month of February.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited that worked out. So let's dive into some of that today. I don't really have a whole lot of specific questions. I love to just let things unfold, knowing that whoever will end up listening will get the value that they're meant to. So, actually, I have a couple questions. My first question is, how old were you, or at what point did you actually discover that inner child work was a thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. It actually wasn't that long ago. I think it was around 2021 when I went on this quest to try to help the women that I had been working with who were trying to change their relationship with their body, trying to lose weight, feel better, all that kind of thing. And I had created a program that I was doing online and I loved it. It was called Fiercely Focused. It was this body kindness. And there was so many radical changes, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, and the way that they were trying to honor their body now. But it was just a matter of time before some of those old habits and self-sabotaging would eventually creep back in. And I was a professional self-sabotager, so I know this pattern well, but I do not want my name associated with that. I did Tami's program and it didn't work. So I was like, I got to get to the bottom of this. And so when I went on this quest, I ended up stumbling into energy healing. And that's when I was introduced to inner child work, not realizing that I needed that for myself. And that's when I discovered Little Tam Tam. I thought of her affectionately, I look back at pictures all the time, but I never connected her still being a part of me, really, or that I was her role model or, making her proud or not listening to her, not honoring her, not feeling her feelings. And so when I made that connection, it was like, oh boy, my whole life changed. So like
it's deep.
It's real deep. Yeah. Yeah.
But powerful.
So powerful. And honestly, and that's why I got so passionate about it, because to me, I feel like she's unlocked everything for me and was really like kind of holding, not necessarily holding all these secrets, but all of these gifts, all of the joy, all of these things that I had forgotten about, all of her dreams that I really had forgotten about, and that she needed me to go back and revisit some things and help me like value myself and healing this worthiness wound or fear of rejection. All of these things were coming up, and I could so clearly see how it was all linked back to her as a child. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was impacting my adult life in every sense of the way, even my career, the way I parented, my relationships. It was everywhere. Mm-hmm. Like, oh boy, I got to attend to her.
Yeah. It's unavoidable.
It is unavoidable. And once you make that connection, like you can't unsee it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with inner child work. I think I was first kind of introduced to the idea of it again, learning energy work in massage school
Mm-hmm.
22 years ago. And I didn't really do a whole lot of like, deep rabbit hole searching and like diving into that until a handful of years ago when I took the training for the art of sacred healing, Lomi.
Oh.
And I went on then to do advanced level. And a lot of the advanced level is a lot of the inner child work. And it's just, you can probably relate, it's very hard to put the power of it into words.
It is.
But one of the things that I have taken away from that with being a Sacred Lomi facilitator is one of their mottos is you're always your own first client of the day.
Ooh, yes, I love that.
So before you bring yourself to the table to
Mm-hmm.
facilitate for another, you're your own first client. What are your needs?
Yes.
And have those been taken care of? Because we can only give to the capacity in which we have given to self.
Yes.
So,
there's so many. I had so many goosebumps as you were saying that, because that is the key for so many people. Like, we grew up thinking like taking care of ourselves was selfish and we needed to always be looking out for others. And, I see this kind of looks like a vase over here. And you think about that. If you tip that over and that spills out, you have nothing left for yourself or to give to anyone else. And so once I made that connection, like I need to pour into me, that overflow can go to everyone else. But it really was when people ask like, how could I be so committed with working out or my nutrition? I'm like, that's how I take care of her. I show up for that little girl. And I didn't start that way. Like, it started with just starting to feel worthy of feeling good, just physically, and then that started to trickle into, my career. Like, I felt worthy of having a career that lit me up and that I felt passionate about. And then I felt worthy of having a relationship, and it trickled into everything. But so much of that was a form of reparenting. I didn't realize it then, but by showing up for myself first thing in the morning, going to the gym, that was my way of saying like, I'm taking care of you first and foremost. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, everyone else wins. But if I don't do that first thing, like, she feels abandoned. She feels ignored. She feels like, oh, I'm the last on your priority list. Because how many times do people go throughout their entire day, have not tended to themselves, and they get to the end of the day, they're fried from work, and then, you would turn to food, or you would grab alcohol or something, because there was no form of self-care at any other time throughout the day.
Or feel resentful.
Yes.
And think, well, what about me?
Yeah.
What about me?
Right.
There's so many kind of cliche things that could be said around that topic of, there's the saying, nobody's coming to save you.
Uh-huh.
And damn,
that's true.
That is so true.
So true.
Yeah. And another one is, you can't pour from an empty cup. It sounds so, yeah.
But true.
It is so true.
Well, and I love the one about no one's coming to save you. And really, your inner child only wants you to. It doesn't want validation from other people. It doesn't need you to search outside of yourself for love, for things, for any of that. It wants that from you. And that's why self-love and taking care of yourself and showing up for yourself is literally the root of all of it. Like she or he just wants you to love you. As imperfect as we all are, to be able to be that kid who's just loved unconditionally. Like, can we love ourselves unconditionally? And I think as adults, if we were to say that, like, do you love yourself unconditionally, regardless of how much you make, regardless of how much you weigh, regardless of whatever? I think a lot of people would have a hard time saying, yeah, I love myself unconditionally. Like, no, we beat ourselves up for those things and where we're falling short in our lives. When your inner child's over there, like, I just want you to love me because I'm me. Like, I think of my kids. Like, I would never look at them, as a 6-year-old or 11-year-old and pick out all the reasons why I don't love them. Like, I would never do that, but that's what we do to our inner child every day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's heartbreaking. I mean, if you look at statistics with relationships and divorce and whatever, there's like this empty hole, and people try to stuff that with, like you said, like food or like, do this for me. Like, you have to be this way to make me happy. And it is such powerful work.
Yeah. And that was kind of one of the coping strategies that I had was food. It was always my go-to. It was the way I punished myself, withholding food from myself and trying to be anorexic in high school, withholding love from myself. I mean, that message goes even further than just withholding food. Whereas then got into college and had no idea how to emotionally regulate, how to feel any of my feelings. And so I would eat to numb them. And so I turned to binge eating and I gained 40 pounds like overnight. And it took a long time to realize like this was never a knowledge problem. Like, again, I have a master's degree in nutrition. Did that stop me from binge eating? Nope. Like, it was never about that. Mm-hmm. It was, I had to start to feel safe within myself to explore what were some of these deeper wounds that I was being triggered. And that took me a long time to finally get there. And that's where I want to help people. Like, I don't want it to take that long for people. I don't want you to have to go through years and years and years where we keep repeating the same patterns, getting the same test because we haven't learned the lesson.
Yeah. So you and I were chit-chatting, of course, before the podcast, and Jason Sieb is a guy who does a lot of similar work, just names it a little bit differently, but he talks a lot about that. Like, people, his career before his current career was, yes, I could set up this great program for you to like get you in shape and get you to lose weight, but like that is not at all the root of what you really want. Right. Like, let's not suffer our way into feeling like that is that end number is going to be our happiness. Like, he's like, I will just tell you what your problem really is a worthiness problem. You do not feel like you are worthy of anything good because you do not look a certain way, you do not weigh a certain amount, and you feel like if all of a sudden, if you could just get to that number, you'll like you, but you'll also feel worthy because you think other people will like you. And he's just, he just nails it. He just nails it. And he's got, I feel like you probably have more of like this nurturing woman mother approach, but his is just more like this raw, I'm going to say it like it is. It's going to sting. It's going to hurt. But this is just the reality of it. He's like, your self-care is not really self-care. It is just another way to sabotage yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, what he's doing is like ripping off the Band-Aid and exposing the wound. Mm-hmm. This is a wound. This is your worthiness wound, and everything, all the meal plans, all the workout plans, all the whatever you're doing to try to cover that up, not actually address the wound. Like, that's what it's really there. And that's where I made the shift in my career as well, because yes, I have those backgrounds, but I started to get away from creating meal plans or writing workouts for people. Cause like, it's not about that. And I've seen that a million times, and I did that myself for years. I can't even tell you how many different diets I went on or how many workout plans or gizmos. I was trying to combine the word gizmos and gadgets, and I made it into one word. New word. There you go.
Love it. Congratulations.
But that was the dictionary. But like, I would order stuff off, the infomercials at night of just all of the crazy things. Like, well, this is going to be the magic thing that helps me lose weight forever and I'll love myself. And it was never the case. I would maybe lose a couple pounds, if I could even last a few days doing whatever restrictive thing I was doing. I mean, I have journals where I was trying to eat 500 calories a day, and then 2 days later, I would write in there how much I hated myself because I couldn't stick to that. Well, no shit. And now I think about all of the ways that my inner child was sabotaging those things. It's like, no, you're missing the point. I need you to love you no matter what weight you are. And until you do that, I'm going to keep giving you this test. So I don't care if you've lost 100 pounds 3 times, you're going to get this lesson again until you learn to love yourself when you're 100 pounds overweight. And you can honor what your body has been through and just going through that process and learning how to love ourselves. Like that's when the nutrition part and the exercise and all that gets easier, when you've actually tended to the wound and you're working with your body and you're honoring your inner child. Like, I will take care of you. I will show up for you. And like, okay, let's do this. Your inner child will be on board. But if we try to, again, think about any kid that's being forced to do something they don't want to do. How much fun is that? How much are they going to resist that and throw a tantrum?
Or deprived.
Yes. Yeah, we take away all their favorite things. My kids are not happy when I do that. But if I can find a way to work with them in this common goal, wow, things go much smoother. And that is the exact same way. So if we can approach our health goals in that same way, like how can I honor these things and know that exposing this wound doesn't have to be this big, scary thing, that it can be incredibly healing and help in every area of my life. Like, yeah, it's not necessarily easy work, but how many times do you want to keep repeating that pattern? That's hard.
Right. And do you feel that like what you do with like coaching people, so like everyone's wounds are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can have similarities,
Yeah.
and how people respond to things is a little bit different. So do you feel kind of like that's where hiring a coach who kind of can help you reflect back to you, to
Yes.
help you identify like, here's what I see going on here, so let's work with this right now.
Yeah.
And of course, there's layers, which I want to talk about layers too in
Oh,
a minute.
there's so many layers. But yeah, I mean, that's 100% why having someone reflect that back. And I want people to know, like, you are your own healer. You have everything you need. It's having someone maybe hold your hand. And that's where I feel like, and it was interesting that my father-in-law, who passed away from suicide, gave me a headlamp one year for Christmas. And, I thought about, and he was a huge catalyst on my journey, in that I was going to need that little headlight to light the way, not only for myself, but for other people through this journey. And you could talk about like the dark night of the soul. And I was like, oh my gosh, like he was equipping me for doing this work and literally being able to hold someone's hand and guide them. Because while this work, if you put it on paper, it looks easy. Like inner child work 101, just reparent, notice the trigger, honor your feelings, reparent. It looks simple, but that shit ain't easy. Because we have our egos who have their number one job is to protect that inner child. And that is the one that sabotages to having to avoid feeling the feelings, to avoid not feeling worthy, to avoid not feeling good enough, whatever enough. It doesn't want your inner child to feel that, when really we need to be able to go in those moments and be like, but you always have been worthy. But our ego is trained to block all of that. And that's years and years and years of limiting beliefs and conditioning and all those self-sabotaging behaviors.
Yes. My former associate, back to the headlamp, that, makes you think of like Dark Night of the Soul. It
Yeah.
makes me think of a light worker in this lifetime.
Yes.
So either way.
Oh, I love that. I love that reframe. I'll take that too.
It's like the lighthouse, that beacon of light.
You just gave me I touched my head in this download, because I actually was feeling really lost after we had lost him. And someone I've heard of mediums, but I had never gone to them. I never knew anything about them. But one lady, we were sitting down having coffee and talked to me about this woman. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to go see her. And it was all about my father-in-law, but that's what she said. She's like, you're a light worker. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So that was like this huge catalyst of like, well, what is that? And that really kind of started this curiosity of like, what am I supposed to be doing here on this planet? And so that's funny that you made that connection and connected those dots for me. Thank you. Yeah.
My former office associate, we would talk about people kind of like, they want to go on this journey of bettering self, and learning these things. And I think a common mistake or misunderstanding, and she had said too that she always had this misunderstanding, is that like, if I just do this and this and this, and then I can reach peace. Like her goal was
Yeah.
peace, and she could get there, but it was fleeting. And she had
Yeah.
this misconception that like, once I get there, I should be there forevermore. I just need to figure
Mm.
it all out. And like, that's what makes, I think, reaching moments of peacefulness so rich, is that
Yeah.
we're not always meant to be there. There's more and
Yeah.
more layers, and to really embrace that peace, or whatever your goal is. It can be bliss, exhilaration, like
Mm-hmm.
embrace them while they're there, but not to, I think we're so afraid to feel,
Yeah.
like especially feel
Oh, yeah.
sadness, anger,
Yep.
disappointment, and powerlessness.
Yeah.
But it's just all part of it.
Right. I think that's part of the journey, right? Is like, how do I ebb and flow through all of that? How do I allow all of those feelings to feel safe versus thinking once I'm happy, I need to be able to stay there and
Right,
never
right.
leave. Like, no, you need to be able to, you're going to experience joy one moment, and the next moment it might be sadness, it might be grief, but then you find your way back to happiness, peace, or joy. Like it's learning how to ride that wave.
Yes.
And knowing how to get back up when you get knocked down. Like that's life. We're never going to be able to just put ourselves in a bubble or in a box and be like, okay, I'm perfectly healed now. Like it just, in my experience, has not worked that way. It's the waves, it's the layers, it's all of that.
So take note, all you type A
Yeah,
perfectionists.
sorry.
Pop your bubble right now.
But that's one thing I love about when you talk about layers, is because I used to kind of beat myself up over that. Like, I thought I healed that. Like, no, you healed a layer of it. Now we're going deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes like those lessons maybe feel harder, but now I'm like, okay, I'm ready for it. If it's coming up, that means I'm ready for it. And so the universe, whatever resonates for you, is saying, okay, here you go. Here's the next layer of this. It's not that you backtrack all the time. Sometimes we feel like that's this huge setback, when really now I see it as I'm just going deeper into the wound. And there's a reason that I'm going deeper into this wound, is because I'm meant to heal it. And I'm meant to show others how to. And if I don't go to the depths of it, how am I supposed to help someone else?
Which leads me to one of my very favorite thoughts or quotes, is your mess becomes your message.
Yes. You have written that on my Facebook wall many times, and I love it. Yeah, truly.
Yes.
Truly.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, if everyone can see that, like, no, you were giving your story for a reason. I believe there's lessons, there are gifts in our whole experience. And instead of staying stuck, whether it's feeling like a victim of it, or why did this happen to me, is starting to look at like, how is this happening for me? And when you start to make that shift, you're like, oh, this all makes sense. I can think of times when I felt like I was rejected from career opportunities or whatever, but then I could see that was redirection. That absolutely happened for me, because if I would have gotten locked into that partnership, this wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have been available for this opportunity that's here now. Mm-hmm. And so we have to be able to stay open to those things and think about like, okay, how is this happening for me? What am I supposed to learn from this? And we were talking about that earlier too. Like when I feel triggered, rather than blaming this other person and staying outside of myself, I immediately see that as my mirror. Like, oh, they're trying to show me something. This is what I need to heal. Like, ooh, that triggered me. Why? What am I not seeing about myself? How am I afraid to be seen myself? If this person isn't seeing me and that triggers me, is there a spot about me where I'm not truly seeing all parts of me? And so then you do that work, and I was like, oh, you unlock another layer. Like, okay, you start a podcast. Now they'll hear me, whether they like it or not.
We were talking a little bit earlier too about the journey of sinking into trusting.
Yeah.
Trusting the process, trusting all of the things that unfold that was not on our radar, that was not part of our agenda. And just knowing that, trusting that this was what was meant to be, even though it wasn't on my radar, and how Yes, opening the mind, the eyes, the heart. What am I meant to learn from this?
Right.
Just what you said. Like trusting that if you can sink into that, I feel
Yeah.
like that is you will save yourself a lot of grief the
Yes.
rest of your journey by falling into that, trusting that everything is as it's meant to be in this moment.
Absolutely. Well, I think about how many people, if they're praying, but also trying to control.
Hmm.
And when I think of those things, like oftentimes when I think about control, my hands immediately, just intuitively clench in and I have fists. Like, how am I supposed to receive any of those prayers, any of those miracles, any of those gifts if my hands are closed? And so I have to release. And so when I release control, my hands open. And I'm saying, okay, whatever you got planned for me, I'm here to receive it. But I can't do that if my hands are closed. I can't do that if I'm trying to control every single variable and know what's going to happen tomorrow and have XYZ planned out. You leave no room for magic when you do that. And so that is very, very hard. And again, that oftentimes stems back to a childhood wound. If you have this need to control, it's likely that was how you tried to feel safe growing up in an environment where it was maybe chaotic or you're walking on eggshells. Like anything that you could do as a child to feel some sense of control helped you feel safe. That's how your ego tried to help you feel safe. Well, now as an adult, you're quote unquote a control freak. And like, oh, but you can see how it's limiting you by allowing other people to help you. You're not able to receive. So you throw off the balance of giving and receiving and not opening yourself up to receive the gifts and the blessings because you're trying to control everything.
So beautifully stated in such a easy, tangible way. Absolutely. So thank you for sharing that
Yeah.
wisdom. I feel like a lot of people will feel that when they hear
Hope
that.
so.
I was pondering this earlier.
Oh,
This
boy.
is kind of a fun little
Okay.
deep question, but why do you think that for so many people it feels so awkward and unnatural to love themselves and show self-love and show self-care? Why is it the majority? Why is it? Why is that? Why is it so awkward for people?
Yeah, honestly, I think in a way it's like this form of protection from our own ego. And it's our own blocks around our heart. Like we learned, like, well, if I don't let love in, then I can't get hurt. And so we start to build these walls, not realizing that eventually we don't even know how to love ourselves and we haven't learned how to accept ourselves. And so when you have all these childhood wounds, your ego tells you, like, well, you can't love you unless you weigh this. You can't love you unless, because we've been conditioned thinking that love was conditional. And so it's very hard for us to be able to actually see ourselves and know that we're worthy of love no matter what. So there's so much of that ego conditioning that makes it really hard and blocks that to be able to see that we're worthy of love regardless, like just for being who we are. But yeah, it's a very scary thing to be seen because if you are who you truly are without all of the masks and people reject you, and you're who you really are. Like if I put on these masks and people reject me, like, well, that's fine. Think about someone who's drinking and they go out and they have all this fun. Well, they can blame it on the alcohol. Like, well, it was the alcohol. I've not really. But if you were to just go out there, like I haven't drank in several years, but I can light up and people will think that I drank. Like, were you drunk last night? I'm like, no, I was just having fun. But now I don't have anything to blame it on if people think I was ridiculous. So I have to not care. Like that's who I am. That's how I am when I want to just let loose and have fun. I don't need, but it's like this backup. And that's when we put on these masks, we can blame it on something. Because to just be seen authentically for who we are, that's very vulnerable.
Scary.
Yeah. And that rejection is like the worst kind of rejection. But that's the worst thing is your inner child. Like, but you're doing it to me now. I don't care about anybody else. I don't care if that person in Walmart looks at my outfit and laughs or rolls their eyes. Like, do you like what you wear? And I say that to my kids all the time. My son, he thinks his older sister walks on water. He's like, well, Arya said this. I'm like, well, do you believe that about you, Arlo? And he's like, no. I'm like, then let it go. It's what you think about you. And just like trying to help him see that you don't need to be this certain version for Arya to love you or to want to play with you. Like you be you, stand in that, and your people will find you for exactly who you are.
So what I just got from that was parenting your children in the way that you are
Ooh,
is the beginning of how we change the world,
it is.
because that's not what's common.
No.
And so, I mean, I think even that, when I said, why is it so awkward for us to love ourselves? Another
Yeah.
little branch of that is it's just, it's societal,
It
it's
100%
just
is.
that.
Yep.
So, yes.
Well, you think about that going back generations, like if they weren't, farm kids, like if you're not productive and working all the time, like what are you worth? It was that message because they had to work hard and all of these things where it's like, can I just be loved if I wanted to sit around on a Saturday afternoon? Like, nope, we need you out there working. And so it just created this programming. And so it's helping our kids see now, like, no, I love you unconditionally. Do we still have to like show up and be kind and do all these things? Yes. But no matter what, like I'm going to love you for you. And so it really does start with parenting. But I had to unlearn a whole lot of things myself, learn how to emotionally regulate myself so I could then help my kids do it, because I was not a model for that. My daughter did not feel safe coming to me and talking to her about her emotions because she didn't want to make me feel sad, make me mad. And I was like, here my daughter is like trying to protect me, her mom. I was like, oh, no. So like I needed to unlearn all of these things that I didn't feel safe to feel those things. And then creating that environment for my kids where now they can come to me with any emotion, knowing that I'm going to love them regardless, even if it's something that they're not proud about. And we can reflect on that and even kind of talk about like, well, you can see how your ego maybe stepped in there and didn't make the best choice, and not making it about them. Because again, like that's a very separate thing. And I think that's where sometimes doing this work, you can start to separate yourself and see ego as, again, this protector, but not necessarily you. Like I wasn't necessarily binge eating. I knew better. Tami knew better. Tami spent a lot of money on that master's degree, but my ego didn't care. It was like, I don't want little Tam to feel that emotion. So I'm going to take over right now. I'm taking over the driver's seat. And so when you can start to see that, you take away a lot of the shame and a lot of the guilt, and that allows you to start to heal. Because I think shame keeps us in this cycle where we never get anywhere. We just keep beating ourselves up. Like, oh, here I am again. I'm same place I was 2 years ago, or I'm dieting again. Like we just stay stuck in the shame cycle and you can never move forward.
Yeah, so good. So I picked up a little nugget of something you said, which led to another question that I wanted to present. This one specifically for me hits home. You were talking about farm kids. Yeah. Your value is, like being productive and working. So I have some type A in me, and I love to be like productive and organized and creating. Like I love that. However, like we get exhausted and we need rest. Yes. And I think there's also some things with survival mixed in. Oh, yeah. Like I know for me at different chapters in my life, if I did not like work myself to exhaustion, like my existence and survival depended on that at different points in my life. So there's that layer and understanding that, but then also, like, do we define ourselves, and is our value based on what we're doing and how productive we are? So we kind of talked about that a little. Yeah. But then the next thing that I like had on my list and I want to ask you about personally, I notice that when I allow myself time to slow down and be within myself, just to even just breathe, go for a walk. Yep. Like I took myself out to lunch yesterday before my yearly tax appointment, and just that little bit of time that I gave myself, like so many things just fall away, and then like I feel more alive, and like creativity amps up, and all of the ideas start to like flow through, and just that well-being, like that unblocking. And one of the reasons I love traveling is because I take myself out of my environment at home to be working, my environment at my business to be working. And in those moments, I experience just complete present moment connection,
Yes.
bliss of everything around me, whether it's Mother Nature or my children if they're with me. And really, what it is connecting to that full presence, self and world around me. Um, but it's just like I'm working through layers, like, but I love to work too.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
So I'm like always back and forth with like,
Mm.
but I love to work. Like I love,
Yes.
but I also know that I sometimes need to not work.
Yes.
So what's your personal experience with that? And what are some things that you do for yourself to give yourself what you need?
Yeah. I love everything you just said. And really, you just summed up basically what can happen when you connect with your inner child. Or like what happens when you don't and what happens when you do. Like everything you just described is like inner child work 101. But we think about that conditioning. And I grew up on a farm as well. And so learning how to slow down and rest and not try to squeeze every morsel out of every minute and trying to be productive. Like I think about that with my kids. Like they do not want to be run ragged like that. And so when I think about my inner child does not want that either. And if I'm never tending to her and she's on the back burner, that's when everything does seem to go haywire. That's when I feel anxious. That's when I feel like I'm going to throw a tantrum because she's like, I want to get your attention one way or another. Let me just blow this up and sabotage this. Or I get an injury and now I have to slow down. Or I get sick. It's like, well, you weren't listening. I love the quote of, listen to your body's whisper so it doesn't have to scream. And oh my gosh, I got that lesson so many times. But now I think about it, if I allow that time to connect and, whether that's paddleboarding for me or when I work out, it's not about, before it was punishment. Working out for me, I was just afraid to get fat because if I was fat, then people wouldn't love me. And, it was the whole thing, right? Whereas now I do that to honor my body. I know that I need to move energy. I'm an empath. I take on people's energy. If I don't clear that, it literally weighs me down and bogs me down. And so I know like that's self-care for me to just move. So I don't go to the gym to burn calories or to whatever. Like now I'm just there more for my mental and emotional and spiritual health. And that's my way to like tend to her. Like I could just get one-on-one time with her. And that's why I loved what you had said is you're giving one-on-one time, unconditional attention time to little Shodi. And people don't realize that like when you go out and travel, like, yeah, you're taking like, oh, you're just like, woo, finally we get to get away from all the responsibility. Like what kid doesn't love that? So it's truly just connecting with your inner child. And all of a sudden you're right. It brings back this joy. It brings back that fun, energy, the creativity. Yes. It opens you up. So sometimes when we're so afraid to stop and rest, we don't realize how much we're actually blocking our productivity. We think the harder I'll work, the more productive I'll be. And I have found that is the opposite, is that the more that I tend to that and I tap into her, the more creative I am, the more things just naturally flow. I'm not having to work so hard because it's, you're
aligning.
Yeah, I'm building in the play. And actually, when I was getting certified to do the energy work, we had to, log hours for meditation and practicing these healings. And I remember thinking like, God, I got to get to work. And I was like, Tami, this is the work. This is the work. You have to take 20 minutes to do this healing session on yourself. This is the work. But I wanted to jump to getting on my computer and doing that kind of work. And I was like, this is actually the most important work of my day. And so now in the morning, I'm very strict on my routine. Like I will go work out. I'll have my, post-workout shake. But then once I'm done with that, I will turn on some, frequency or a meditation. And at least, maybe it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but it's that routine. Like this time for me in the morning to just get clear, to just connect with myself, whether messages need to come through, and then I can start my day. And then the rest of the day can just go however it needs to go. But if I miss that, it feels like my whole day is more chaotic, more stressful. If I get out of that routine, because my inner child's like, whoa, you forgot about me this morning. Like, so now I just don't, because I know what my day looks like if I don't tend to myself first or tend to her.
And that is the work.
That is the work.
Yes. And that's not, you see all these powerful coaches up on stage and like, let's get this and da 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 and like productivity and like
Yeah.
one of my personal favorite mentors always talks about what you just said, like the slowing down, the meditation, the breathing time. And when people say to her, I don't have time for that, her response is, you don't have time not to do that.
Amen. That is so true. So true.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Because like I feel like it gives back tenfold.
It does. 100%.
That time invested.
Yeah. And it doesn't take long to realize that. You just have to get out of the pattern and that feeling uncomfortable and really kind of telling your ego, like, it's okay for me to slow down. I'm actually going to be more productive if I do this first. And I this last week I had my 6-year-old son on the podcast, and he was talking about his love cup. And when he gets frustrated, if he keeps trying to like go at his Legos and he keeps getting frustrated without taking that pause and just letting himself be, or I'll be like, Arlo, like, do you need your love cup filled? And then we'll just do something silly, but it's just for me right now to give him that intentional time. But I think about, he's such a reflection to me of someone's inner child because he's at that sweet age. But it's the same thing. Like if I'm frustrated at work, the last thing I need to do is keep beating my head against a wall. Like I need to step out, go outside, go for a walk, call it what you want, but that's your inner child. They're like, thank you for just tending to me. I'm feeling frustrated because you're so focused on work that you forgot about me. And so just getting outside for 5 minutes, all of a sudden you go back to work, and aren't you just much more focused and much more productive when you gave yourself that tiny bit of time? Sometimes that's all we need. It doesn't have to be this massive production where we have to go on some retreat just to reconnect with ourselves. Just do it daily.
Yes.
Do it daily. Build it into your day.
I pulled an oracle card maybe Friday night, maybe Saturday morning. I can't remember. And cha-ching, that's what the message was.
Oh, really?
And it's like, yeah, thanks for the reminder. Like, wasn't going to deny that one.
Yeah.
Yes, the play, adding more play to your life and the day. And I do know the value of it. We just sometimes get blinders on and get going 100 miles an hour in one direction.
Well, and isn't that interesting when you look around people that are really successful or happy? I wouldn't say successful. It depends on what your definition of that is, because my definition is very different than most people's.
Same.
But people that just seem genuinely happy and joyful, oftentimes they're still connected to their hobbies. They're still connected to things that their inner child used to love. It's when we completely shut that down. And that's where like no amount of money in the world can make you happy if you're not like truly loving who you are, finding joy in those little things. And so it's kind of looking at like, what is success for you, and what are those peaceful moments that you can find with yourself, and how can you build that in daily?
So the image that I got when you just spoke that is, like disconnecting yourself from those things that make you light up. When we engage in whatever it is that makes us light up, when we are lit up, our vibration is higher.
Yes.
And that is affecting everyone around us positively.
Yep.
So it's a win-win.
Right. And then you start attracting maybe the healthier relationships. You start attracting the better job opportunities. But sometimes like we have to take accountability for your vibration. What are you putting out there? We all know those people that are like, oh, there's Debbie Downer, and they just drain your energy. Well, if you engage in that, you're partaking in that. So I'm really mindful now of who I let into my space. The things, turning on the TV or whatever it is, just things that are low vibrational, because I worked really hard to reach this frequency, and I don't want to be pulled back down into that anymore. And so that may mean that some people are leaving my life, but that's opening up room for people like you who are like, oh, this is fun. Look at you matching my vibration. I love it.
And that's all we can do.
Yeah.
We can't, whatever's happening on the news or in someone else's existence, like we have no control over that. The only thing we can control is our own, vibration, happiness, energy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think too, it can free you from feeling, especially if you are a people pleaser or the caregiver who feels like you needed to take care of everyone. Is like, no, when you take care of yourself, you raise your vibration, and that naturally helps people around you. It naturally can help them heal. It can naturally make them feel better. You don't have to take on their problems. You can just be you and be high vibrational, and that just naturally helps everyone around you. That just helps our world, our planet. So if
Mm-hmm.
everyone was doing that and vibrating higher, those lower vibration things would just start to dissipate.
They would.
Yeah.
Again, another one of my favorites that one of my favorite mentors talks about is one who is connected to the stream is more powerful than a million who are not.
Mm.
Meaning that's the
Mm-hmm.
power
Yeah.
of someone connected to that stream of
Yeah.
life force energy that's flowing to you and through you and available to each and every one of us at any given moment, every single day. And there is more power in that than a million people who are disconnected from
Mm-hmm.
that in that lower vibe and trying to be productive from that level.
Yeah.
Um, it's always good to remember.
Yeah. I love that. That's a good visual.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about, this is kind of laughable, truly, because I wanted to ask you kind of like, where do you see, kind of like your future going? Like, what are
Mhm.
your goals and visions? But then, of course, we had our little pre-talk
Yeah.
and like, life is always like, it's always good to have those goals and intentions and like go after what you want. But
Yeah.
then the art of staying open to like
Yeah.
what that higher plan actually is. So, I mean, I do want to ask you that, but
Yeah.
it's fun to just laugh about knowing that, like, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans,
Oh my
sort
gosh,
of thing.
for real. That's 100% what has happened because I
Uh,
like launched my new business last year and thinking it would have taken off this way. Well, then I started the podcast thinking that would just kind of be this fun thing I did on the side. Well, then I fell in love with that and invested a lot more time and energy into that. And starting retreats, we have one in Sedona in April, really kind of focused on inner child work and healing the woman in us. And yeah, this whole, oh, you're going to open a gym now. Like that was not on my radar, but God's like, it sure is. And it's such a full circle moment for me. Not even just that my undergrad was in exercise sports science and I didn't get my personal training certification then because I was 40 pounds overweight and felt like a fraud and all these things. Like it goes even further back into that when I started with body dysmorphia in third grade and started doing workout videos. Like it's this whole thing, but it's how can I reach people? And this was just another avenue to help reach people and to help them see like you're coming to the gym, but this is not just about fitness. This is not just about your workout. And so now I can be in an environment where I can share that message, but also with the podcast and speaking, it feels like my wherever God is taking me is to be out there like kind of spreading this message about reconnecting with your inner child and finding that joy and not being afraid to look at your past and heal your wounds, knowing that you don't have to relive it. It's just releasing the energy from it, releasing the emotion from that. So that way you can tap back into the joy and all of those things. And so I'm excited to connect with, people and providers like you, where if I'm opening people up to this, be like, okay, now you need to go see her. Now you need to go see this person for, EMDR or EFT or whatever it is to help you maybe find the modality that helps you, because I feel like it's different for everyone in what that looks like. And even though I might refer to something as inner child work, someone may talk about it in a very different way. I just want to help people start to notice what that feeling is. Like, oh, that's what that calling has been. That's what that longing has been, or that's what that anger has been pent up. It actually wasn't about my coworker. It was about how my siblings always talked over me as a kid and I never felt heard. Oh, and then you can actually start seeing some real shifts in healing, because sometimes you can stay stuck in your story and I don't want to stay stuck. Like we got this one chance, this one life. And so if I can help people move through that just by kind of waking them up with my light, shining the light, like, here you go. That's where it feels like I'm being called. And beyond that, like I said, I don't know, because I have learned that, yes, my plans, it is laughable.
It is. It really is.
It's been very fun, but it's very laughable.
I
yes.
can relate.
Yeah.
It's like the whole gym thing. It's so like when I see that, I just feel like you're divinely put there and people are coming to you. You're
Yeah.
not having to like really effort to get out there. It's an avenue of them just coming right to you. So that's beautiful.
Well, and knowing now, like this is the perfect time to do that, because now I see all the pieces of the puzzle. Like it isn't just about fitness. And I think that's where it's going to be a very different experience for people, is because there will be nutrition, but there's going to be the healing component, the mindfulness component. Like we want to help the whole person.
And get to some roots.
Get to the root, because this 45-minute workout is not going to magically solve your problems. It'll help you move some energy and release some emotions, sure, but the work doesn't end here. Yeah.
So you have a lot of different things that you've achieved and several different avenues in which you're available, podcast, coaching. So if someone wants to connect with you and loves what you have to say and like, ooh, like I can relate to that, how can they contact you? How can they reach you? And in what capacity, like, are you available to work with people? Let's put that out there.
Yeah. So my website, unscriptedhealingwi.com, and you can schedule a discovery call, because I want people, it has to be a vibrational match. And so I want people to feel comfortable working with me. So I always do that free discovery call with people just to hear a little snippet of their story and make sure that they feel comfortable with me, because that's a huge part of the puzzle, right? If your inner child doesn't feel safe opening up to me, we're not getting anywhere. So I want people to have that option. So there's always that. They can go on the website and schedule a time if they want. I'm like, you know what? I heard this girl on this podcast. I feel like I want to talk to her. Like, follow your intuition. And, they could schedule a 90-minute session. And we can deep dive into that, start connecting some of those dots. And sometimes that's enough for people to kind of take it and run with it. But other times people are like, I want to do this deeper work. And so we may work 3 months together or 6 months together, and however that looks. And I try to lead my sessions very intuitively, because that is one of my gifts, is to be a channel and to know, like, in this moment, what do you need to hear? And I love the interplay between, my client, and that whatever they say might trigger something in me, or what I say, and like just this, like, whoa, what we started the conversation was not how it ended, but you could see all of a sudden there was this full circle moment. Like, how cool was that? I had no idea what this was going to turn into. So I'm just not your typical therapist or counselor in that regard, and that I really do follow my intuition and allow that channel to come through. So whatever message that you need to hear, we connect those dots together. And I love working together, because I want you to feel empowered that, again, you have the tools that you need. I might just be showing you them, mirroring that back to you, reflecting, like, you realize you did that? Did you manifested that? Like, they're like, oh, I did. And then just the whole shift in their energy is pretty powerful. So the one-on-one coaching is always an option. We do have the retreat coming up in April, and we've done 2 now out in Sedona, Arizona, and it has been the most powerful, transformative experience that I have been a part of. And so we go on a hike solely for our inner child. Again, I think about my kids, like, if I could do a solo trip with both of them, they'd be like, they just want your undivided attention. And so for your inner child to feel that is pretty cool. And then we spend, another whole day just tending to the woman in us, and the times that we have, suppressed her, denied her, neglected her. And so it's a very, very powerful experience. We like to say, like, it's April 9th through the 13th. And so it's like, it feels like intense therapy. It's not a common retreat where you're just like out doing yoga and sitting on beachside, but it's not even that it's therapy. It's deep spiritual work. So those are kind of the fun things. But yeah, the podcast, I love it. It's a lot of these stories. It's people sharing their stories, how they turn their pain into purpose. And it's not, I actually don't have a lot of providers on there. I have some providers on there, but I've had people from my gym friends, that they have this story from their childhood and kind of helping them connect their dots. So it's like, it's everyday people, because we all have a story. And so I just want people to feel seen. And I feel like that's my biggest purpose on this world, is to help everyone and their inner child feel seen and heard. Yeah.
Well, I just geek out over anyone that I can relate to in the aspect of being guided and being loose and fluid with how things are meant to go and unfold, because that's how I roll. So it just feels really good to, like, hear someone else say that.
Yeah, like, we're not crazy. Like, there's
I know, right. I always just, I sometimes kind of make light of intuition and by calling it witchy vibes, because some people just don't really understand that language, and it's like, I don't really want to get like too intense, so let's call it witchy vibes. And then I laugh about it because it's light and it's fun. So I'm so honored that you took the time to come here today in person to record with me. So good. Girl, we could just keep rolling.
Oh, I know, for real.
And
like waiting for the cutoff, like, please.
I feel it in my bones that you'll return again. It'll be probably maybe like a different little spider web
Yeah.
or rabbit hole that we go down. I'm super excited for everyone and anyone that joins your Sedona retreat, because I can just feel the power in that. And that's
Yeah.
a very powerful place.
It is.
physically
Oh my
on
gosh.
the
The energy
planet
there
to
is
be.
next level.
So thank you for doing the work that you're doing. Thank you for being an uplifter of the planet. Thank you for being a high vibe person. Um, that gives the world around us um, a place to reach up to. One of my favorite little visions or scenarios too is like when someone is struggling and they're in the water
Mhm.
and you have the person in the boat with the life raft, like
Yeah.
you cannot hop in there and drown with them. You
Right.
can throw them the life raft, but they have to grab onto it. And I
Yeah.
feel like with light workers, that's what we are. We're here, we're available. We have to stay high up in that boat,
Right.
and we can like toss out a life raft, but you grab onto it. So thank you
Yes.
for being that. It's just super fun to connect with fellow like-minded hearts and souls. So,
Agreed.
until next time, thank you from Little Shodi to Little Tam
No,
Tam.
thank you. This was great. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.